So hi, welcome to the Noise Podcast. I'm Shane,
I'm Glory.
and we're here with
I'm Mark from Suicide Silence.
Aaron. Some questions to say about their upcoming album, Remember, You Must Die. So congrats on that, by the way. How do you feel about the response to the announcement so far?
So far, so good. It's been one of those slow rolls. You know, we released a song. I don't even know when we released You Must Die. It was over 6 months ago. So response has been good to the singles, and I think the record's a great listen front to back. So I'm stoked to have everybody hear it this weekend.
Hell yeah, I agree. The album
Absolutely.
is fucking awesome.
It's fucking insane, dude.
Thanks,
Great.
thanks. Yeah, I feel the same. I mean, I know how I feel. I know how I feel and how I have felt after albums, and I haven't felt like this towards an album in a long time. I've been saying that a lot, but it's just the truth. It's a ripper, and it's super fun. And I think all the songs are going to be fun to play live, at some point. So I'm stoked.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. What do you think is so different about this album that you feel already just completely new about the reaction and the response to it?
I mean, I could be wrong about this. I don't know, and I've been saying this often, but I feel like in the early days, we all were approaching writing and we knew we wanted to be as heavy as possible. That's always been what we've said, but this one, we, it feels like we agreed on what heavy we wanted. We were all on the same page, and it is kind of a similar feeling as when we were writing back in the day, like everybody being on the same page, everybody knowing what we want out of it. And that's why people say, "Oh, it sounds like suicide, like old school Suicide Silence again, or something." And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't necessarily think it sounds like us in 2007 or 8 or 9. I just feel like the energy of what we were doing back then is in this album,
Mhm.
which, dude, it's one of those things you can't aim for that, and it just happens every once in a while. And it feels like on this record it did.
Awesome.
Absolutely. So are you able to tell us what the meaning behind the album title art or title and cover art is?
Well, the we were searching and searching for a good title for the album, and we had been using Latin phrases and translating them to English and using that for inspiration for song concepts and lyrics and all of that. And Remember You Must Die was, while we were looking, through Latin phrases, Memento Mori is obviously something that a lot of people know, remember death. It's obviously been used by Lamb of God, and we were like, can't do that. And just started playing with it, and like, how do we make that sound brutal and like sound like impactful? And like the Remember You Must Die, we just loved it. We fell in love with it immediately. We're like, that's so cool. And really, it's just, again, kind of being on a similar page. It's not like we're old men by any means, but I think we're aware of getting older and aware of mortality more. And I feel like writing about death and writing about knowing that you're going to die is as close to like honest as where we are right now. Like,
Mm.
we're older, we're aware that we are not kids anymore. The youth is over, and this is where we are, which I think also is why this album sounds more honest, because it's really coming from where we are right now. And the album artwork, it the artist is David Van Gogh, and he is awesome, and he's a true visionary. He uses symbolism in all of his art, and that's what he kind of roots himself in. I think, if I say it right, like it's like surrealist symbolism is like kind of his style of artwork.
Mhm.
Mm.
And we knew he would be cool just based off of his other art, and literally we just sent him some lyrics where we were coming from with the album and said, do your thing, do what you
Mm.
want with it. And he knocked it out of the park. I mean, the album is just, or the cover art is just strewn with different symbolism, and we have like a key, literally like a legend that he sent to us an email, like, this is what this means and this is what this means. It's pretty deep, and one of these days we'll like kind of put that out there and like let people know what it all means even more. The
Wow.
dude's crazy. He's really, really talented.
That's fucking awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about your writing process for this album?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, what happened, we wrote Become the Hunter in 2019 and recorded that. And we're planning this, world tour as you do when you put out an album. And then obviously the pandemic happened. So we weren't really able to play any shows. I think we played 2 shows, an album release show and one other secret show for that. And the truth is, I mean, we got the rug pulled out underneath us. We got the wind knocked out of us. It's a real bummer when you're planning all this stuff and you have all these plans and it just, you can't do any of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, we really didn't, we didn't have it in us, and it didn't seem like the right thing to do to just go and start writing another album, or like, we didn't know what to do. So it was kind of like, we kind of went through like a band audit process almost. We're like, all right, we're home. We're not doing anything. Like, let's kind of look at what we're doing and figure things out. And we kind of didn't do anything in 2021. It's just the truth.
Wow.
We did nothing. And 2021 was like, we did the Ginger tour. So we toured in November, December, the end of that year. We did a really long, that was our first tour back, first shows back, but we hadn't really done much. And when it came to January 2022, though, we knew it was time to start writing. But of course, we're all writers. We're all work on music. So just because we weren't working on things together didn't mean all of us weren't working on things and getting ideas, which kind of worked in our favor. Because once we showed up in 2022 and we were ready to write a record, everybody had a ton of ideas. Everybody was inspired. A lot of time had passed. So I totally believe that, more space gives more time for experience, more time to be influenced, inspired, have fresh ideas. And that's pretty much what happened. We just showed up and everybody was like, I got this, I got this, I got this. And we wrote the record.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you guys like had that time off and it wound up being positive for everybody.
Yeah. I think a lot of us learned a lot, and a lot of us took time to kind of hone different skills. And yeah, for me personally, like, I never really was that big into home recording. I was really more of just like, show up at this band spot, jam, and that was always how I've worked. But oddly enough, 2019, right before the pandemic, I bought a computer, I bought an interface, I bought all this stuff. I need to get into this a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it just worked out perfectly, because then the pandemic happened. I'm like, well, I got all this gear. I'm going to just sit and, work on shit. So worked out well.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. And how does this writing process that you guys had for this album how is it different from your original writing process? Because you said for this one, it felt like it has that same energy as older Suicide Silence. So what was different about this one?
I think the only thing different about the process of this is that we actually, before we picked up our instruments and started to really write anything, we talked about what we wanted. It was kind of like we had a meeting, like, what are we going for? Like, what does this album mean to us? What do we want to do? And yeah, that's where that Heavy as Possible thing got said. And it's kind of everywhere at this point. Like, people, we wanted to write a record that was heavy as possible. Garza said it, and we just made it the ethos, so to say, the mission statement of the album. And I don't think we've ever truly done that before. So it kind of put a lot more intention on what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, to me, it's obvious that we've always wanted to write records that are heavy as possible. But what is it? What does heavy mean to you at that certain point in your life? You know what I mean? Like, everybody could kind of be coming from a different place. What is heavy to them at that very moment?
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like on this one, all of us kind of had the same idea of what heavy is. So we understood the assignment,
Hell yeah.
But also gotta say that, Ernie playing drums, huge difference in how everything just happened. I mean, he's a new drummer for us.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big fan of the band, big fan of the scene. He's really good at drums.
Mm-hmm.
And I would call it a youthful energy was now in the room again, which we also hadn't had in quite some time.
Yeah.
And that's not saying anything bad about Alex or anything like that. It's just, a different thing about this writing process was Ernie was a full member of the band. Basically, we didn't tell him he could or couldn't do anything. It was like, what kind of ideas you got? Like, what do you want to do? Mm-hmm. So Ernie is another big one. Another reason why this is a lot different. You could hear it in the drums. It's a different drummer for sure.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. And do you think that Ernie might have brought that kind of that energy of a fan in the band where it's kind of like, oh, well, I've always wanted to hear you guys do this in a song. Did you guys ever talk about that?
Yeah, definitely. It's pretty uh easy to kind of see that that's what was going on. It
Hmm.
was like he wasn't lack of ideas, and he knows how to speak really well and also speak his ideas out really well. And it was obvious that it's like he was kind of molding us to what he would have wanted to hear as a fan, which,
Yep.
it's kind of a rare thing. I don't think we'll ever really get that again, because this is actually the second album we've worked on with him,
Mm.
because he did Become the Hunter, but he wasn't going to be in the band. He was just helping us with that record. So
Mhm.
we
Oh.
kind of did keep him on a leash. We didn't let him do whatever he wanted. This is
Mhm.
the first time we're like, no,
Go
shackles are
crazy.
off. You can do whatever you want. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's going to be interesting, because now he is. I know how it is when you write records. You're always looking in hindsight and looking forward. This is what we did here. This is what I want to do. And now he's done these albums with us, and I'm curious to see where he wants to go with it too, because he's creative as fuck. He's badass.
Absolutely. Why? So what song off this album took longest to write, and which one is your personal favorite?
Um, Two of the songs on this record, both of them took a while. Altar of Self took a while because a, a different song, down tempo, not like a super high energy kind of typical Suicide Silence song. And originally it was a lot longer. There was a couple more parts, and we had to trim fat. And
Mm.
because it was so different, uh, it was almost like I know I didn't really like it. A couple other members were like, we could scrap that one. We don't even need to work on that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then we just kept working on it though. Garza really liked it and was, really wanted it to be on the record and to see where it went. And it was for good reason. It ended up being a single. Once we got vocals on it and saw what it could become, we're like, this is totally a different song, a better song than we thought it could
Mhm.
be. One took a little while. I had to really think about it. The other one was Full Void, because that riff, it's the last song on the record. That riff, I'd had that riff since the summer of 2020, I think. And
Mm.
uh I had it, and we must have wrote that song like 3 times, like, because that riff was so, it stands out, and we couldn't really get the rest of the song to stand out the way that one riff did.
Mhm.
So we just kept, hammering it. And I was at the point, same thing. I'm like, I'm ready to toss this song because the rest of it's
Yep.
not good. I want to save that riff for something better.
Mhm.
And then finally, it just one night I remembered, I'm like, I think I have like a little piece of a song that's like a 2-minute song that I couldn't finish. Like,
Mhm.
that could probably be the first half of that song. And so it took like 3 versions for me to be like, nah, all these suck. Shit, I have that fucking idea. And then we put it together, and then it ended up
Mhm.
being like a really nice closer, a nice experiment too, uh with like half the song has vocals and half the song is instrumental. And we've never
Mhm.
really done anything like that before. So it ended up being a nice closer for the record and was worth the effort.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
And your favorite off the album?
Mhm.
Oh, favorite. I think Fuck for Life is probably my favorite. I think that's going to be a banger live. I think it's one of those, I think it could be a single, but doesn't need to be a single.
Mhm.
It's just so good. We're like, that'll be fucking dope to play live and just be a badass tune. It's kind of, I've been saying, it sounds like Suicide Sounds 2023. It reminds me of when we wrote Fuck Everything, or uh it's like Black Crown meets now. It's got like an old school
Mhm.
death metal vibe, but also has the old school Suicide Sounds vibe. It's
Mhm.
cool. I really like that song.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
So how'd the track list for your album come about? Did you guys write the opener be the opener, closer be a closer? Did you shuffle around and see what fits? What was that process like?
Um, we knew that we wanted to do a classic intro. I have an actual intro track, 'cause we hadn't done one of those in a little bit. So that was kind of determined, and there was only 2 things we swapped, and I can't remember what it was that we swapped, but it was pretty apparent what was going to be where. It kind of
Mhm.
it was obvious what should go where. And then I think, yeah, there was just one flip flop. I can't remember which one it was. And I remember it was like, oh yeah, that's cool. Let's do that. Like that's how it should be. It didn't really require as much thought as previous records, maybe.
Wow,
Makes sense.
nice. So would you be able to tell us where your headspace is at while you were creating this record?
It was post that Ginger tour. So we had
Mhm.
just done that Ginger tour, and that was a really, really long tour. And uh really it took so much out of me personally. I was real exhausted after that tour. We hadn't toured in a year and a half or something, and then we went out on an almost 2 month tour,
Mhm.
and that was really grueling.
Yeah.
So we got home mid-December, and then my headspace was I was excited to get into the studio and actually start writing and actually like get in that place, because it's probably when I'm feeling the best is when I'm in, album writing mode with everybody, and like we're all
Mhm.
working on stuff. It's like everything else that's going on in my life, for better or for worse, kind of gets ignored.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm just like way in the writing mode. And I'm pretty sure that's what happened with this one. It was just, almost blinders go up and you're fully focused on the album. And even, when we were in the studio, being in the studio, I'm working and recording this in the studio, but then like going home and working on guitar solos, or like maybe thinking about vocals, or like I'm just
Mhm.
so in it. And uh it's always how it is. It's always evolved. I try to stay in semi writing mode all the time because I'm aware that it makes me feel the best.
Mhm.
Ah,
So um yeah, it's and I've said this before. I used to actually get post like record depression, like postpartum fucking album has
yeah.
been finished. Maybe it's not even out yet, but I'm done with it. And I don't have that. I'm not putting my energy towards something. I used to get like
Mhm.
way low. And I just learned, I'm like, well, once I'm done with an album, I don't have to be done writing all the time. Like I can continue just
Exactly.
writing lyrics or writing riffs or working on things. And really that rolled in with this one too. Like I used it with this. We finished the record, and I still haven't really stopped. I know I see where I want to go with the next record too. So
Oh wow.
it yeah. So I can always say if I'm in the studio and I'm, or not even in the studio, if I'm working on music with the band, I'm usually in a good headspace because it's what I like to do the most.
Well, that's good.
That's good. I'm very happy to
Um,
hear that.
as an artist, like I guess you prefer like writing and recording over like playing live.
I love to play live. Uh, I would say that uh, everything that surrounds playing live, touring, traveling, all of that, logistics of everything,
Mhm.
that's what makes me like writing in studio more.
Fair
Because
enough.
the whole life of touring and all of that, that's oh man, I mean, it's not exactly the healthiest lifestyle. It's exhausting,
Yeah.
and but being on stage, it's fucking amazing. Playing shows is great. Uh, but yeah, just that's kind of my honest. Who really wants to get on a plane and fly somewhere and be jet lagged and then get on stage and play. It's like not the easiest thing to do,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
it's worth it.
Oh
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's always fun.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, we're a live band, so we love to be on stage and rip. That's where it all started. That's why we go and write songs, so we can bring those songs to the stage. So it all kind of works
Exactly.
together. But yeah.
Fair enough.
Mhm.
So how do you recommend your fans to listen to this album for the first time? Should they do it in a car with friends, in the dark with headphones on? Is it a workout album, party album? What do you personally recommend?
Hmm. It's funny because I was kind of thinking that this record sounds like a semi-party record. Like there's a vibe that can kind of be uplifting, but what I've noticed is everybody's been like, man, this is like stark. And like it's what was another word I heard? I'm blanking on what it was, but I think that whatever Suicide Silence, if you know this band, I would say however you normally listen to us, that definitely just go down what you're used to us with. That's what I think is going to work out. But if you don't know about us, I would say probably listen with headphones around people that you're not going to scare.
Makes
Perfect.
sense.
So this one should be super, super quick off the top of your head. I want you to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words. No more, no less.
Heavy as possible.
I knew you were
Yeah.
going to do that. Yeah, I knew
Yeah.
it. All right,
Uh-huh.
perfect.
So in that same train of thought, is there a certain feeling or emotion you want listeners to have while going through the album?
Say that one more time, sorry.
Certain feeling or emotion that you want it like to invoke in people.
Oh,
Mhm.
no, I wouldn't say I wouldn't, because I just feel like always, and I think it's how I just feel with Suicide Silence in general. I don't think that we're trying to make anybody feel anything. We're just kind of hoping that that they enjoy it, and maybe that they can escape a little bit and get a little time out, from anything. So I guess if there is something we want an emotion for them to feel, is just, I guess, free, not
Mhm.
not whatever it is. I know that I listen to music to go into it. I want to be
Yeah.
there with it. It's almost like a meditation. You're listening to that, and that's where you're at. So, just, or people love to listen to Suicide Silence in the gym. Even I listen to my own band if I work out. Like,
As you should, dude. Yeah.
it totally works, and I get it, and people have told me that forever.
Mhm.
So, yeah, whatever whatever you need Suicide Silence for, I hope that that's what you get from it.
Perfect answer. I love it. So can you talk about any challenging or standout moments from the creation of this album?
The only thing, I think what we learned, and Eddie lives 8 hours from us, so
Damn.
he isn't local.
Mhm.
And it's easy to write music and share with him something, but
Mhm.
it's not as easy to write music and share with him how we were feeling and what we were doing when we were writing it. So sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes it's like he is getting a totally different vibe from it
Mhm.
because of that distance. So the distance was the challenge, but we literally figured out exactly, all right, this is what we need to do and how we need to move forward with him being able to be home still while we're writing, and then come down when he's needed. Because there's been times where we, like You Can't Stop Me, for example, and Self-Titled, he would come down here and stay here the entire time, which doesn't exactly, then he's kind of on tour, he's away from home, he's not exactly in a comfortable place in the writing space where
Yeah.
we're all at home, we can go home to our beds and we're
Mhm.
more comfortable. So yeah, and this album, I think we actually figured out the true workflow on how all that should work. That was the only challenge, was just kind of, in hindsight, the lyrics, vocals, all of that. It was like we had to be working on all of that while we were in the studio recording. We had to be kind of working on all of that at the same time. It wasn't wrapped up yet, which isn't unheard of. It's
Yeah.
it's kind of standard, but that was the only thing that it almost felt like we had enough time, but we could have had more time.
Makes
Absolutely.
sense.
Yeah.
So for this question, I want you to picture you're on tour, you're at a gas station for a rest stop. What is your snack of choice?
It's probably something sweet. I mean, if it's late and I'm gonna eat shitty snacks, I'm gonna have like Oreos or ice cream.
Hell yeah.
You
Mhm.
know,
enough.
Is there something I'm forgetting that's like even more badass than that? I mean, Ben and Jerry's, dude. It's so funny. Like, that's totally, if it's late night and we're just like stoned and it's a chill night, it's like, dude, we're stopping. It's like everybody gets some shitty sweet something. We're an ice cream band.
Yeah.
Except for
love
Dan
it so
Kinney.
much.
He drinks so much that he has enough sugars in him from alcohol that he doesn't even eat sweets. So not everybody, but
Damn. So on the topic of food, if the band was a dish, what dish would the band be and why?
have you ever seen that interview where somebody asked us that, and it's a Mitch interview, and he says a soup-based meal?
No. Oh my God. A soup-based meal. Do you agree with that?
I thought it was the most silly. I mean, it was just basically, it's such a weird question that he just said something really weird. What is a soup-based meal?
Exactly.
Like, isn't soup a meal? So
Right. Yeah. I mean, like a
So
broth? What?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll say that. I'll say a soup-based meal.
Okay.
Damn it.
All right.
Okay. All right, sure.
So for the last couple questions, we're going to shift completely away from music and go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
I would have there's a website that sells really, really high quality meats. It's called fossilfarms.com. And they have these elk tenderloins that are so good, but they're like, I don't even know how much per serving. It's like $30 for like 8 ounces or something. Just,
Damn.
I would have an elk steak from them.
Mm.
I would have Brussels sprouts and potatoes.
Love Brussels sprouts.
And I would have, and add some, I had a lobster tail on there too. Why not?
Yeah.
A drink. I don't drink it ever anymore, but Cactus Cooler.
Okay.
You know what that is?
I
No.
don't. I would love to hear
mango,
what it is.
It's mango pineapple soda. It's just it used to be around a lot when I was a kid. I don't see it as often anymore. It was kind of like just as prevalent as, you know, Mountain Dew or something, but now I don't see it anymore. But it's like Cactus Cooler. Damn, dude, that shit is good.
That sounds good.
Sounds delicious. Yeah, we got to track that down for you. So if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
First thought, I'm a nerd, dude. Caladan, do you know what Caladan is? It's where it's from Dune, the movie or book.
Yeah.
It's where the Atreides are originally from.
Oh,
and before they go to Arrakis.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that movie, the way that they made it look, so it's like Dune. It's like Dune is supposed to be this desert planet, and then like Caladan is literally like the opposite planet. It's like water. It's more like Earth, but it's like I've always those books are so good, and Caladan. If that's like the most nerdy answer I could ever come up with, but it's a fictional place. So,
all right,
perfect. I'm happy to hear that the movie actually fit with the book. There's usually a lot of discourse with book to movie renditions, but I'm happy to hear you approve of it.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, you can never do it perfectly, but
yeah.
I can't wait. I can't wait for the second movie.
Yep.
I'm so glad that they turned the first book into 2 movies, because that first book is dense. There's
Absolutely.
a lot going on.
Yeah.
So I have on asking the last question, and every single person that we've spoken to have said that it is the most important question. What's your favorite color?
When I was a kid, it was green, and then I realized it's actually purple.
Oh.
So true. Great color.
Yeah, purple's amazing.
Yeah, purple. Purple. It's Garza's favorite color too. He did the purple hair. Yeah, purple.
Oh yeah.
But also, it's like I don't really rock purple. It's not like I'm like I wear it. It's just like purple's nice.
It's just nice to look at.
Yeah, it is.
Calming. Exactly.
So as I said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
We're going to be on the Chaos and Carnage tour all of April. Super stoked. You know, we got this album dropping, so we're going to go play all these songs, and who knows really what we're going to do with the set list. So just come out and expect to have a fucking good time, because we're going to have a good time.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for now. This has been Mark from Suicide Silence, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.